Dear listeners, thank you for your incredible support in helping our channel grow. We're aiming for 1,000 subscribers, so please support us by subscribing and helping us reach this milestone. Now let's start the story. Present, Maria, Linus, Matt, and Jim at the cabin. The old Marines with the flamethrowers do a hell of a job on the car and the ambulance blocking the gate. But we get the hell surprised out of us when the car catches on fire and some guy bails out of it. He's a stung-up-looking mess. Linus gets on the CB and declares, "We need a medic. We have a man that's had the hell stung out of him." We get 3 responses and one guy says, "Medic hell. I'm a doctor and we'll be right up." With the bees taking care of Linus radios, we need someone to tow the car and ambulance away from the gate. Someone replies, "Hell, we've got a tow truck and we'll be right up." They come up with the tow truck and I really begin to wonder what the hell we don't have. They begin to move the burning car and the messed up ambulance. I look at Linus as he says, "Maria, we've got a little problem." I smile at him and ask, "What's wrong, honey?" He replies, "Well, I've commanded small teams before, but nothing this big. We have a full-blown army here." I get ready to reply, then I notice something flying toward us and ask, "Linus, what the hell is that?" A younger guy runs up with a rifle, begins shooting at it, and yells, "That's a drone. We need to kill that scumsucker." His statement lights a fire under a few younger guys, and the next thing you know the drone comes crashing to the ground as Linus commands, "I want that thing retrieved." The guys jump the fence and head after the drone. I feel sorry for Linus because he feels so much out of his element having to command this many people. Then we get a huge surprise when a car pulls up and he exits. Present, Mira, Ira, and Alexei at the hospital. We are resting as comfortably at the hospital domicile as can be expected when a doctor enters and inquires, "Miss Sedankina?" Irinka and I simultaneously reply, "Yes, sir." He looks at us and reformulates his question, "Ms. Irina Sedankina?" Ira replies, "Yes, sir." He educates us on her medical condition. "Well, miss, it's a good thing you came to the hospital. The rat which bit you was infected not only with rat bite fever, but also hepatitis A." Ira confirms her medical history. "Doctor, I have had the vaccination for hepatitis A." He further questions, "Was it in a different country than the US?" She answers, "Yes, sir, it was in Kazakhstan." He nods his head and provides an explanation. "Well, that probably explains the strange lab results." Alexei questions, "Sir, what is the treatment for the rat bite fever you mentioned?" The doctor states, "Well, if Ms. Sedankina isn't allergic to penicillin, we will start her on injections immediately." Irinka whines, "I am not allergic to penicillin, but please do not inform me that injections will be applied to my derriere." The doctor states, "Unfortunately, that's the best location for the injections. I will send the nurse in soon to begin the treatment." The doctor exfiltrates the room while Ira fumes. I notate that Alexei is busy with a small gaming toy in question. "Alexei, is that the Theft of Grand Auto's game you mentioned?" He replies, "Yes, Mira, it is Grand Theft Auto, and I am attempting to determine why my attempt at breaching the front gate of Ms. Donaldson's compound failed." Irinka questions, "Alexei, what is the Grand Theft of Auto's game?" I answer, Alexei credits it with his superior skills at vehicular operation. Alexei states, "It would benefit both of you to participate in this game." We translocate adjacent to his medical support chaise and observe the game after several minutes. Upon close observation, I question, "Did you just steal a vehicle while using a weapon?" He laughs, "Yes, that is why it's called Grand Theft Auto." We continue to watch the police give pursuit, which he skillfully avoids. Then he maneuvers down a different street and arrests forward motion in front of a woman. Ira questions with some concern, "Alexei, what are you doing?" He states, "Watch this." Currency exchanges hands. They proceed into a hotel room and have a training session. I complain, "Alexei, this is not a positive role model game for you to play." Then he surprises us when he savagely attacks the hooker, retrieves the money, and hurries back to the car. Ira states, "Yes, Alexei, this game will corrupt your young mind." Alexei laughs at our concern. "My sisters, I am capable of separating reality from this game." I look at Irinka and declare, "My sister, we must attempt this game to see if Alexei is correct." Ira replies, "Yes, Marinka," and with considerable haste of post. The nurse walks into the room with an injection for Irinka, and I taunt, "Drop your undergarments, sister," and flex at the waist. Alexei becomes embarrassed and hastily excuses himself. I need to visit the necessary room. The nurse leaves after the proper application of the injection, and I inquire with tears of marine reptile, "Irinka, how is your derriere?" Alexei walks out of the necessary room and states, "You do know you can use the word, but, do you not?" Irinka and I both giggle and relate to him essentials of a certain mission we performed in Israel, where the word, but became quite confusing. In the middle of this dialogue, the physician of genetics arrives in the room and inquires, "Miss Sedankina?" Irinka and I simultaneously reply, "Yes, sir." He clarifies his question, "Ms. Miranda Sedankina?" I anxiously reply, yes, doctor. Present, Masha, at the cabin. I am very impressed with Yasmin's weapon training as we proceed down the passageway to the workshop door. It is exemplary. She is holding her AR at high ready position with her finger adjacent to the trigger. I question her, did Ben Blaine provide your weapons instruction? Yasmin proudly replies, yes, my husband to be certainly did. He drilled his first wife Zarika and myself endlessly. However, I confess that I really only killed 3 people. I do not like killing. I cannot resist, so I question, are you comfortable being the second wife? She smiles, yes, Ms. Reynolds. It will be an honor to be the second wife. And when Zarika becomes too old to please Ben, I will still be young and assume the primary pleasure role. I consider bringing up the question of Ms. Donaldson, but decide against it. We are at the doorway, and I direct, Yasmin, you must not let anyone through this doorway unless they are friends. If they are not friends, you must kill them without hesitation. She wisely for her age questions, Ms. Reynolds, how will I know if they are friendly? I think for a moment and reply, so far the adversary has not used the computer system to access the house. So if the door is breached by force, then you must react with devastating force. She glances around and sagely suggests, due to Ben's training, perhaps it would be wise to use that table as a shield, because if they breach the doorway I could be injured. I concur, Yasmin, that illustrates the wisdom provided by Ben's training. We tip the table over down a side hallway. Yasmin crouches behind it, and I reiterate, you must not lose concentration. She assures, yes, protecting my future husband's assets is my primary concern. We have already lost the cabin, so I will not daydream or sleep, because we cannot lose the tunnels. I head back to the meeting room assured that Yasmin is adequately, if incorrectly, motivated. There are many women who seem to have the motivation of capturing Ben Blaine in matrimonial bliss, or perhaps matrimonial strife, and unless the girls are very competent they will not achieve their ill-planned desires. Present, Yints, at the cabin. The alarm sounds again, so I look at the system panel and discover it's the front gate. This is all we need, a new attack. I switch the video feed to the front gate and can't believe who the hell I see. And it looks like he brought a whole damn army since there are cars and semis as far as I can see. I decide I need to call a meeting, so I announce over the PA, meeting in 5 minutes in the main conference room. Jack and Yasmin, stay on post, and I will come and inform you personally. Present, Ben, Austin, Texas. I've had a couple hits off the bottle and announce, that's all for me tonight. I have work to do. The janitor questions, so where's the Austin Avenger going tonight? I demand, what's this Austin Avenger crap? He tosses a paper to me and says, that's what the news has named you. I read the paper, and while it paints a good picture of me, the Austin police are pissed at me and vow to bring me in. I look at the janitor and ask, just how good are the Austin police? He laughs and admits, shit. You know that better than me, they aren't worth shit. The problem is they have a hell bent for leather Texas Ranger here in Austin. I brag, I've had some run-ins with the Rangers, and unless they are really good they aren't going to catch me. The janitor states, this guy is like a Mountie, he always gets his man. Hey, why don't you throw them a loop and take a night off? I blink, look at him and say, well then, what the hell can I do for grins? He smiled with his reply, well, you seem to like the blues, so there's this little blues club I like to attend. How about coming along and hearing us old boys play some blues? I get excited and ask, you think they'll let a young guy sit in? He smiles, well that depends how good you are. We don't want no amateurs messing things up. I say, I'm still bringing my combat gear just in case. He laughs, yeah, if you can't play worth shit you might need it to escape the wrath of the crowd. We're a pretty tough bunch. We leave and I think, yeah, I'm going to play rings around all you old farts butts. Present, Stacy and Samantha, on the road. Bill informs me in private, Ben Blaine is currently in Austin, Texas. I'm shocked and question, how in the hell did you find out about this? He laughs, well he isn't keeping too low a profile, and with the aliases you gave us it was easy as hell to find him. He is currently going to perform with the Austin Opera, as Eugene Onegin in the Russian opera by the same name. This sounded funny, so I query, are you certain of this? He pulls out some pictures and shows them to me. It's been on stage and my heart melts. Then he says, he was living with some female Russian polecat, but we now have him living with a janitor who is a friend of ours. I ask, how long will it take us to reach Austin by horse? Bill answers, too long. I would suggest that we take you and the horses to the outskirts of Austin and ride from there. By the way, what do you want done with Samantha? I look over at her, remember Ben's patience with me and say, she's with me and I want her protected just like me. However, I do want her cell phone blocked since I don't want the Mossad finding us through it. Bill laughs, well, they are still licking their wounds from the encounter where we recovered your weapons. That reminds me, so I say, yes, I forgot to thank you for that. Was anyone injured? He laughs, not on my team. I respond, Bill, remind me to increase your pay. You've done a hell of a job. Now let's get loaded up and head to Austin. I walk back towards Samantha. She notices the horses are being loaded into the trailer and questions, Stacy, what's going on? I pull the same trick on her that she likes to pull on me. Samantha, just how committed are you to being with me? I notice Bill is recording this conversation, so I will ask him later to use the voice stress analyzer feature to see if she's lying. She questions, Stacy, I don't understand what you're asking. I explain to her, listen, are you my friend, a reporter, or Frank's wife? She stands up tall and says, Stacy, I am a reporter who is also your friend, and as far as my husband goes, there's a difference between being a Frank and being a shit. And he crossed that line with me. I ask one more question, and your reports will be truthful and factual? She smiles and promises, hell yes they will. It's about time the world hears your side of the story. I like the hell out of her answer and declare, well then, let's go. Present, Byron, Tom, and Inga. It's raining hell on the narcotic lord. It seems like I wait forever, and finally Tom shows up. I demand, where the hell is the 50 cal ammo? He shakes his head, sorry old friend, I couldn't find any. I was able to get these weapons and ammo. By the way, it was hell getting up here. I look at what he brought. They would work in a short-range battle, but they certainly weren't what I needed now. Hell, 2,000 yards out of a 7.62 by 51? There was no way that was going to happen. I sat down disgusted, and Tom tried to cheer me up. Well, can't we move closer? I hand him the binocs and order, glass the roof of the last building we were on. I take the binocs from Byron, glass the roof we were on before, and it's so covered with men, they look like ants on an anthill. Screw me, I really let him down. I lamely suggest, perhaps we can pick them off with these weapons, and then move closer? Byron grumpily answers, and perhaps pigs can fly. Yeah, he's still pissed as hell, and I don't know what to do. Just then Inga shows up and states, I could use some help unloading the truck. I question, what truck? She says, the one with all the ammo and the 50 caliber rifle. Byron jumps up and declares, Inga, I could kiss you. Tom couldn't find anything. Inga smiles, well, I ran into an old friend who used to deal arms and got lucky. I have 5,000 rounds of ammo and 2 additional 50 caliber rifles. Damn, Inga really came through where Tom dropped the ball. I looked and then ordered, okay, I want 3,000 rounds of the ammo up here. Inga, you and Tom each take 1,000 rounds. I point and order, Tom, you set up on top of that building over there. You have 15 minutes to get into place. I get ready to order Inga, and she says, Byron, I know you want me over there. She points to the exact building I was thinking of and continues, I've already dropped my rifle and ammo on the roof, so I should be ready in 5 minutes. Tom looks at me, and I order, what the hell are you standing around here for? Move your butt. I love it when a plan comes together. Present, Maria, Linus, Matt, and Jim at the cabin. Linus no sooner confesses to me that he feels out of place leading such a large group of men when he drives up and exits the car. Linus says, let's go and meet him and see what his orders are. I reply, and beg his forgiveness for his loss. We approach, snap to attention, and salute. Then I say, sorry sir, but we got here too late to save your daughter. He laughs. Present, Glenn, at the cabin. Jennifer's aide Maria apologizes for Jennifer's death. I guess Jennifer had failed to tell Maria about the tunnel system below the cabin. I laugh and order. First, I'm no longer a general, so cut out the saluting crap, and next I'm certain that Jennifer is still alive. Maria declares, but sir, the cabin is engulfed in flames. I explain to her, yes, the fireproof cabin is engulfed in flames because something forced Jennifer to activate the doomsday device in the cabin. However, to do that she had to be in the tunnels. Linus smiles and says, I should have known, sir. By the way, it's good you're here. I relinquish my command to you. I argue, Linus, you've done a hell of a job pulling together this team. Perhaps you should continue in the command role. After all, I'm old and my best years are behind me. He replies, no sir. We all expect you to lead us. There's a huge hurrah. I turn and see a staggering number of Marines of all ages and announce, I know there were times that I commanded when I wasn't proud of my decisions. Linus interrupts, well sir, it looks like you're going to get a chance to right those perceived wrongs. Who here wants General Donaldson to lead us? There's a resounding ugh that echoes off the mountains. I hesitantly say, it would be an honor. I don't deserve to lead you again. However, this time it will be different. I expect and will listen to the input of all my men. There's a huge cheer, then some young Marines run up, snap to attention, salute, and say, sir, we recovered what was left of the drone. They hand it to me, and I immediately recognize that it's what's left of a tiny as hell helicopter. Oh my god, I know what it is, and we need to get our butts in gear so we don't get caught flat-foot. I immediately praise the patrol, and then order, whomever shot this scumsucker down was a hell of a rifleman, because this is a Black Hornet nano drone. Its presence means we have enemy combatants in close proximity. Troops find cover and form a close perimeter, but do not breach the fence to the cabin or you will activate the security system. Linus and the team that took down the drone with me for a sitrep. A squad offers, sir. We are recon. Permission to go on patrol? I look at the Marine that asked and ordered. Marine, you just earned yourself a job. Coordinate patrols and also get some men up to the high ground. Be careful. My daughter and probably 5 or 6 other persons are housed in tunnels below the cabin. Make sure of your targets before you fire. Now, do we have any radio equipment? One of the men offers, sir. We have 2 groups from TSIFs here right now and another 2 on the way. It would be an honor if you would consider one our mobile command center your FOB, and we have all the radio gear that you need. Linus suggests, you might want to include one of the flamethrower operators on your patrols in case there are any more killer bees. I smile at the men and say, it's an honor working with such a fine group of devil dogs. Now let's nut up or shut up. They all yelled "Ura," and then all hell breaks loose. Present, Jens, in the tunnels. We all meet in the main conference room except for Jack, who's watching the CO2 levels, and Yasmin, who's standing watch. I turn on the video feed to the front gate and say, well, it looks like the cavalry is here in full force. Liz questions, Jens, is that your father? I proudly boast, him and I estimate close to 300 Marines. Bernie mentions, and I see Linus, so don't forget 1 SEAL. I quip, and Maria, so that's 1 army. Zarika remarks, Jennifer, what did those men just hand the other man? I inform, that other man is my daddy, and I'm not sure what they handed him. We watch as they all take cover, and I remark, whatever it was, daddy must have perceived a threat from it, so they all took cover. Zarika asks, Jennifer, are some men forming a perimeter? I smile because I know it's my Ben's training and confirm, that's right, they are forming a perimeter. Masha adds, and that looks like a patrol that is leaving. Look, one of them is carrying a flamethrower. I laugh. Yeah, someone was smart enough to bring a flamethrower. Now that should help with the damn killer bees. The next thing we know, they all begin firing, so I swear, son of a bitch. Someone's attacking my daddy. Masha suggests, Jennifer, it might be wise to reinforce Yasmin. I yell, damn Skippy, everyone grab your weapon and let's head to the workshop access door. I no sooner said that than. Present, Mira, Ira, and Alexei, at the hospital. I reply to the genetic physician's query and he apologizes. Miss Sedankina, I'm embarrassed, and I don't know how this happened. The fetus you lost was not from the same semen that you deposited in our clinic. Somehow I had cognated the fetus did not seem completely appropriate, as it didn't feel like Ben. I silently began to cry. Irinka jumps out of the bed and yells, Doctor, what in Hades are you verbosing about? The doctor takes a step backwards and pleads, please, Ms., we're not exactly sure what happened yet. I am furious and wish to terminate something. What grievous error occurred at this dysfunctional fictitious male offspring without a father of a female Saluki? Example of a fertility clinic. Alexei is watching my tirade. However, his game is still making obscene training noises. I yank the game out of his hands, snap it in front of the doctor's face and threaten, you will immediately divulge all the information you have, or I will perform a similar painful act upon your corporeal self. Alexei joins me and adds flames to the fuel. Yes, doctor. This sounds like malpractice, and unless you wish for us to litigate the fertility clinic out of existence, you will divulge all the information required. I oculate sweat on his upper lip as he says, we are still investigating. However, it appears the original semen you deposited was somehow misplaced, and you were impregnated with incorrect semen. We ran a genetic test on the original semen when it was deposited, and the semen currently located in its recorded location is not the same. Mira questions, so the fetus was indeed Nubian? The doctor nods. Yes, the semen that's now in the clinic in place of your deposit is from a big man. I am irate and state, Alexei and I will immediately accompany you to the clinic to investigate what has happened to the original male procreation component. And if you value your life and every other life at the clinic, and all the lives of your offspring, you had better ensure we can locate the correct male procreation component. Marinka surprises me when she adds, Ira, I will also be accompanying the 3 of you because this is of primary concern to my corporeal self. Yes, I knew that the fetus was not my Ben's. Now my worry is concerning the location my Ben's male procreation component. If the clinic has terminated my Ben's male procreation component, I will terminate everyone. However, some factoid about the fetus being Nubian jammed in my corporeal cranial carapace databank to later be recognized. Present, Ben, Austin, Texas. The janitor and I get back to the theater at Lord only knows what time. I've had a hell of a night. The janitor laughs. Boy, you can play a mean guitar and delightful keyboards. I smile as I crawl onto the cot and tease. Well, for old guys you play okay. He counters. Who you calling old? I turn over and continue. I guess you ain't looked in the mirror for a long time because you're older than dirt. He complains, "Go to sleep, you young pup." I couldn't forego one more jab. "Well, this young pup taught you old dogs some new tricks. Now good night." He ends it with a good-natured oath. "Good night, you brash scumsucker." Present, Samantha and Stacy, on the road. I'd hoped to spend some more time with Stacy, but we're in different vehicles. Mine is all guys, but then I'm used to being the only female with a group of men. I try to start up a conversation. "So you guys are the ones that got Stacy's rifle and guns back?" One of the men grunts, "Uh-huh." I continue. "So, would you like to tell me about it?" One answers, "No." I knew that men didn't like to talk, but this was damn strange. We're in the lead vehicle, so I ask Bill, "What did the voice stress analyzer show about Samantha's statement?" He replies that she was telling the truth. Still Stacy, "I'd be careful letting her get too close." I laugh and recite what grandmama used to tell me. "Bill, you keep your friends close and your enemies even closer." He questions, "Do you consider her an enemy and a threat? If so, we can fix that." I explain a bit. "Well, she's a reporter and a hell of a good reporter. But her involvement with the damn Mossad means I can't call her a friend because anyone looking for Ben is my enemy." Bill questions my assumption. "Are you sure it was Samantha that was looking for Ben?" I reply, "If it wasn't Samantha, then it had to be." Bill interrupts, "That's right, Stacy. From what I've been able to figure out, that Mossad team is a death squad that's looking for Ben. They were just using Samantha because she was a convenient cover story." I am totally floored and question, just what the hell did Ben do to get the Mossad after him? When Bill tells me, I am shocked and ask, "Bill, do we need to do something to keep Ben safe?" He laughs, "Well, it's going to take them a few days to regroup, and without Samantha, they will need to find some new transportation. However, we can arrange a few accidents for them in their quest if you would like." I order a few accidents. Hell, I'd like them sent packing back to Israel. Bill questions, "You do remember Samantha thinks she's married to one of them?" I challenge his wording. "Thinks she's married? I thought she was married." Bill laughs again. "The marriage wasn't legal because Frank was already married." I am floored. The more Bill tells me about the Mossad team, the more I hate them. I order, "Don't let Samantha know about this. That's my job. However, make sure you leave me all the documentation concerning Frank and the Mossad." Now, are they in the country legally? He shakes his head. Who the hell even knows anymore who's here legally? My best guess is no, but with the government in such shambles, we can't do anything about it. I get an idea and suggest, don't we still have some friends in Israel? If so, perhaps they could be persuaded to do something about it. Bill contradicts, "Stacy, they're probably the ones that sent the team over here." I order, "Bill, I have enough problems with Ben and now Samantha. Do what you have to, but I want them out of my hair and Samantha's hair forever." He smiles, "Okay. And just so you know, this conversation never happened. Now Samantha's scumsucker horse shooting woman beating husband makes sense to me since he didn't really give a flying shit about her. The problem was how to tell her the truth in the gentlest way." Present, Tom, Byron, and Inga. It's raining hell on the narcotic lord. I floor it in the old, beat-up truck that was scavenged for the job, heading toward the building Byron wanted me to set up on. When I arrive, I have to deal with a security guard to gain rooftop access, but these guys are barely a challenge. I start setting up when whoomp. Damn, Byron's already firing. Another whoomp follows, must be from the other position. I quickly chamber around, adjust the scope, I hate these things, and fire my first shot. The recoil from this beast of a rifle is brutal. I glance downrange and realize, damn it, my shot went low and hit the wrong building. What the hell is Tom doing? That shot was way off, and civilian collateral damage is the last thing we need. He looks over at me, and I shake my fist at him. Then I remember, he hates scopes. He probably just twisted it, hoping for the best. He pulls out his binoculars, and I signal to adjust the elevation and windage settings with my fingers. If he misses again, I swear I might start firing at him. Meanwhile, I keep hearing steady shots from the other position. I check through my scope. Damn, she's already racked up 5 confirmed hits. Time to get to work and catch up. Another shot rings out from Tom's position. This time, at least, he hit the right building. Byron gave me the damn scope settings. I could tell he was pissed as hell at me, so I made the adjustments, fired, and thank God I hit the right building this time. But it was still a bit low and left, so I decided to hold off on the scope and not mess with the knobs. Damn, this rifle kicks like a mule. Byron stops firing for a short time, but I keep it up. I have a score to settle with some nasty men for what they did to me, and nothing declares payback like 671 grains of diplomacy issued from the end of a barrel. Yes, let Byron mess with the buildings. I am shooting the men in the area where I was captured. Payback's a bitch, boys. Flashback, Major M, held hostage. My head was bagged, my hands were cuffed behind me, then they roughly dragged me out of the taxi, threw me on the ground, and kicked the hell out of me. Thank God they didn't go after my head. One of them bent down and swore in broken English. You are the American pig commander of the spawn of Satan that killed many of my men. For this you will pay? I quickly thought and objected. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm only a major. The colonel is his commanding officer. If I was lucky, these scumsuckers would take care of the bony bitch for me. That earned me a few more kicks before they stepped away to talk amongst themselves in a language I couldn't understand. Then it all started to make sense. They had kidnapped me, hoping to use me as leverage to get to Sergeant Blaine, likely because of his actions in past conflicts. A moment later, they returned, roughly pulling me up and forcing me into a chair. One of them announced, "We have taken you in hopes they will trade you for Sergeant Blaine." I could tell it was a lie. No matter what happened, I wasn't getting out of this alive unless I found a way to escape. They tied me to the chair, pulled off my hood, placed a newspaper in front of me, and began recording. I heard them mention Sergeant Blaine's name several times. Knowing this might be my only chance to communicate, I started blinking a message, hoping someone would recognize it. Flashback, Masha, at the hospital. A text message came through, informing me that my team had obtained a copy of the ransom video and was already analyzing it. They were scanning the background, searching for any clue that could help identify the location of the captors. Meanwhile, we had received concerning reports about an ongoing situation overseas, but frustratingly, there was no direct confirmation from our usual contacts. While it was unusual, it wasn't entirely out of character. I was needed back in my office, but that was in Moscow, and I couldn't leave Jack, not while Ben was in surgery. I had to find a way to stay involved remotely. Then it hit me, yes. A laptop and some privacy. I knew exactly where to find both. But first, I had to convince Jack to give me some space. That meant telling him a small lie, just enough to get what I needed. Flashback, Jack, at the hospital. I was worried about Masha. I knew she felt like she needed to stay close, but of all the places in the country, this hospital was probably the least secure. The enemy had a history of using extreme measures to get what they wanted. If they believed Ben was here, they wouldn't hesitate to level the entire building to take him out. The situation was better now that my team was handling security, but I didn't want the added concern of watching over her as well. I'd feel a hell of a lot better if she were back at the hotel with a couple of highly trained guards. She came back from the toilets looking troubled, so I asked, "What's wrong, honey?" She cried a little and explained, "My Jack, this is terrible. I have a migraine headache." I suggested, "Masha, perhaps you should go back to the hotel and rest." She bravely returned a smile and stated, "I will, but you need to call me if you need any assistance." I promised, "I certainly will, my love. Now don't forget your Spetsnaz escort." I kissed her on the cheek and the two of them left. I felt much better knowing she would be out of harm's way. Flashback, Tatiana, in surgery. The doctor completed his task and surgically closed Ben, then he asked, "How many hours was that surgery?" I looked at the wall clock and replied, 6 hours of surgery." "Will Ben walk again?" He pulled off his mask, smiled and replied, "It depends on how he heals, but since he's young and strong, he should recover almost completely. However, he's going to have some spinal shock for a period of time." I questioned, "So he might have to use a wheelchair for several weeks?" The doctor stated, "It could even be several months, and during that time he will need intense physical therapy." I was glad the doctor told the truth, but was concerned how Ben would handle being dependent upon a wheelchair. Flashback, Jens. I just finished my first big surprise for the Russian female dog that loved MY Ben. This time I made sure to cover the purchase on my credit card because I didn't want Daddy to take my card away for a whole month. He did that once before when I had done some nasty things to one of my former ballet teachers. She was amazed that she had joined the Used Panties of the Month Club from Japan. I decided that Japanese men were very sick if they bought dirty underwear. However, this gift was even better than that and would tell her exactly what I thought about her. I sat back in my chair, relaxing, when a special news report came on about an escalating situation in Russia. I watched closely and learned that Ben's commanding officer had been taken hostage by a rebel group. They issued a demand. If we didn't turn over Ben within 24 hours, they would execute the officer. I wanted to ask my father what he planned to do about it, but I knew he didn't like it when I talked about Ben too much. So instead, I went to bed, said a special prayer for Ben and even for the captured officer, and drifted off to sleep, eager for the events of tomorrow to unfold. Flashback, Tatiana, in surgery. Even though I was exhausted, I stayed by Ben's side in recovery after making sure my equipment was secured and changing into fresh clothes. 2 elite guards stood nearby, their tense posture making it clear that something serious was happening, though I wasn't exactly sure what. I was surprised when Masha approached, accompanied by another guard. She leaned in and whispered, "A rebel group has taken Major M hostage and is demanding Ben in exchange. If we don't comply within 24 hours, they say they will execute the Major." I frowned and replied, "I hope everyone understands that handing over Ben won't change the outcome." She smirked and responded, "That doesn't matter." I studied her carefully before asking, "You didn't?" She grinned. "Oh, I did. And now, we need you to continue the mission." I looked at Ben and whispered, "But what about when Ben wakes up?" Masha whispered her reply, "Jack has already determined the hospital is not safe for me, so we can use the same story with Ben." I gave Ben a kiss on the lips and instructed the Spetsnaz to tell Ben the hospital was not safe for us. They grunted like typical Russian males, which meant they might or might not remember what I said. Masha pulled out her false FSB badge, flashed it at them, and repeated what I said. They glared at her, and one declared, "We do not fear the FSB." She answered, "Does the remainder of your family share your lack of fear?" His face showed immediate signs of concern, and Masha reiterated, "Tell Sergeant Blaine we left the hospital because it wasn't safe here for us." He nodded and said, "Duh." As we left the hospital, I was amazed at the mass exodus of patients and staff. If the patients were the least bit ambulatory, they were hobbling out of the hospital, being helped by relatives and staff. I noticed we were being followed by a Spetsnaz and asked, "Masha, what about him?" She warned, "Be ready to run." I was very glad for once that I wore flats. Flashback, Dr. Vasko Boynikov at the hospital. I walked into the recovery room to check on my patient and was met with two surprises. First, he was awake. Second, the nurse was gone. I asked, "Where's the nurse?" Sergeant Blaine replied, "Jack sent her and the other staff to a hotel for their safety." He didn't seem particularly concerned, so I asked, "Aren't you worried about the threat?" He shrugged. "Well, they didn't get me the first time, so I doubt they'll get me the second. But I'm not taking any chances." I frowned. "Would you care to explain?" Without a word, he pulled back the covers, revealing an AK rifle by his side. Flashback, Ben, at the hospital. It was a relief to see my doctor, but I couldn't help feeling uneasy. The security team had warned me that I was still being targeted. If I could stand, I would have taken matters into my own hands. Jack was right. Having certain people around me in this situation would have only made things more complicated. Besides, I had bigger concerns. "Dr. Vasko Boynikov, I wanted to ask you about the surgery," I said. "I can't feel my legs at all." He gave me a reassuring smile and stated, "Sergeant Blaine." I interrupted, "Please call me Ben." He continued, "Ben, the surgery was very successful. I was able to repair the damage in such a way you will lose very little mobility in your back, and in fact your back is totally stable right now. However, you are suffering from what's called spinal shock, which is why you cannot feel your legs." I asked, "Okay, how long until I can walk again?" He answered, "We can't be sure, but it could be weeks or it could even be months until you fully recuperate." I motioned him closer and whispered, "Doctor, you know the big problem is right now? I can't control my bladder or my bowels." He smiled again and answered, "Yes, Ben, this is normal. We will start a routine that we would use on paraplegics, which should train your bowels." I questioned, "What about my bladder?" He suggested, "We could use a catheter." I replied, "I think I'd rather have a portable urinal with me at all times." He chuckled, "Ben, I think you misunderstood. It would be an external catheter." I let out a sigh of relief. "That's fine, but I'm not letting anyone insert anything invasive." Dr. Vasko Boynikov laughed. "I understand, but right now, you wouldn't even feel it." I smiled and said, "Maybe not, but I'd still see it." Flashback, Jack, at the hospital. I heard Ben was awake in the recovery room and hightailed it down there with my Spetsnaz escort. Yeah, it was a pain in the butt having them with me, but I certainly understood why it was necessary. As I walked into the room, Ben was sitting up in bed. He looked great and was talking with his doctor. I walked up and teased, "Hey doc, do you think we should put him in restraints so he doesn't get up?" Ben gave me a sad as hell look and replied, "Jack, there's no need to do that. I can't feel my legs." I about passed out and demanded, "What the hell? I thought the surgery was a success." The doctor explained, "Oh, it was, and Ben is correct. He cannot feel his legs right now because of spinal shock. Over time, he should regain feeling in his legs." I glared at Ben, but he had a shit-eating grin on his face, and I said, "You just wait. Someday your pranks are going to bite you in the butt." He practically crowed, "Well, that day isn't today. Hey, thanks for sending the girls away." I looked confused and asked, "Tatiana went too?" Ben answered, "Hell yes. She was gone before I even woke up. I guess Masha came and got her." I laughed. I should have known. Shit, women can't even go to the bathroom by themselves. We all had a good laugh about that, and then Ben got serious. Flashback, Ben, at the hospital. The time for jokes was over, so I asked, "Jack, what the hell is being done about finding the major?" Jack replied, "Shit, Ben, there's a bucket load of troops here, so they've rounded up the malcontents and are getting ready to go building to building." I shook my head and lamented, "Jack, you know as well as I do that's not going to work. While I don't particularly care for the major, we can't let these scumsuckers do this to an American, let alone a Marine." Jack threw up his hands. "Well, what the hell am I supposed to do?" I didn't give him a choice. Get out there, use those sharp observation skills of yours, and find something that doesn't belong. When you do, you'll find the major. He was about to respond when suddenly, a soldier burst into the room. Flashback, Ira, Mira, and Safia, in Israel. We secured a vehicle much more easily than expected. I took the driver's seat, Safia settled into the passenger side, and Mira wisely chose the back. As I started driving, Safia shouted, Ira, what are you doing? Are you trying to rattle us apart? Mira chimed in. That already happened to me on that rough cart ride. It was far from pleasant. Have you ever experienced that, Safia? Safia groaned in frustration. You too. That's not what I meant. I smirked. So if we really pushed ourselves, would that be breaking down too? Safia threw her hands up. You two are impossible. I replied matter-of-factly, Safia, we are far from impossible, so that statement doesn't quite add up. Mira added with a grin. I think Safia just walked right into that one. Safia sighed. Can we please stop this nonsense? I was about to assure her we would, when Marinka cut in. Flashback, Tatiana and Masha, Internet Cafe. Losing the Spetsnaz guard was easy and entertaining. Once we began running in different directions, he didn't know which one of us to follow. He chased Masha, which was a mistake as she easily outran him. Now as I sat here in this internet cafe and waited for Masha to arrive, I surely hated the looks that the computer geeks gave me. You would think they had never viewed a woman before. Then I realized many of them had probably never been on a date with a real woman. So I decided to have some fun and opened up one more button on my uniform. I practically giggled since I was sure several of them prematurely ejaculated. Masha entered the shop and the proprietor loudly complained, not again. You are going to ruin my business. I walked up beside Masha in time to hear. This time I do not want your shop, but I require an adequate laptop. She withdrew some money from her purse. The proprietor whined. The only one I have is my personal laptop. I just caught the proprietor in a lie. He told me the only laptop he possessed was his personal one. I glared at him and threatened. The next time you lie to me, I will close your internet cafe for 3 months. Now go and fetch me this laptop. He came back with an older but serviceable laptop and demanded, that will be 5,000 rubles. I glared at him, looked at Tatiana, and ordered, Tatiana, shoot this man. Tatiana withdrew her pistol. I noticed the patrons in the internet cafe start to leave, and the proprietor shouted, No, no, no. Please take it for free, as my personal gift. I counted 2,000 rubles, placed them on the counter, and stated, This is what that laptop is worth to me. Do not ever try to cheat me again. I grabbed the laptop and power adapter, then we left the internet cafe. Flashback, Jack, at the hospital. Damn, it's good to see Ben doing so well. I could tell he was better when he pulled the couldn't feel his legs joke. He chided me about not being out looking for the major, and he was right. I was just preparing to leave when the Spetsnaz that was guarding Masha ran into the room. I was worried as hell until he said, Jack, sir, I lost the women I was watching. I was with them, and in one instant they took off running in opposite directions. Ben complained, Don't tell me one of them was Tatiana. He replied, Yes, Ben, Tatiana was one, and the other was Masha. I swore, damn it. What are those two up to? Ben said, Jack, you need to find both of them and the major. I thought, how in the hell was I supposed to do all of that, and decided Ben's early comment was the only way. I looked at Ben and said, I'm hitting the streets to find the women and the major. My Spetsnaz escort complained, Jack, you cannot do that unless the officer orders it. I looked at them and taunted, So when the hell did you two become such pussies that you listen only to an officer? I'm leaving. Flashback, Ben, in recovery. I threw the covers back, started to get out of bed, to help Jack, and Dr. Voskoboynikov demanded, What do you think you are doing? I answered, I'm going to help find the women and the major. He advised, Sergeant Blaine, you just got out of surgery and you cannot walk. How do you expect to help them? I countered, I can use a wheelchair. He countered, Ben, you need to think this through. Right now, your presence here is the only thing keeping your major alive. I'm sure the hospital is being watched, so if you go outside in a wheelchair, they'll capture or kill you, and then go after the major. Not to mention what could happen to your nurse and your friend Jack if they get caught too. I clenched my fists. They better not lay a hand on Tatiana or Jack. Dr. Voskoboynikov explained further, You do not seem to understand that what you did in Beslan started a blood feud similar to the famous Hatfields and McCoys in your country. They won't be happy killing just you. They will kill all your family and friends. I questioned, You seem almost too knowledgeable about this subject. He nodded his head. Yes, I have already had to make arrangements to hide my family because once I operated on you I also became a target. I swore, those scumsuckers. Dr. Voskoboynikov, I'm sorry because I didn't mean to cause you this much trouble. He laughed, It really is no trouble at all. We wanted a vacation, and when President Putin discovered the situation, he paid for the whole trip. I smiled. Yeah, he's okay for a politician, and his Russian is impeccable. Dr. Voskoboynikov laughed and questioned, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much pain are you in right now? How the hell did he know? Yes, I remember I told him. I replied, oh, it's not bad, it's about an 8. He smiled and ordered a different nurse. Ben needs to be put on a patient-controlled analgesia pump. Please set it so he receives a small, steady dose and can give himself a bolus if he needs one. Then he looked at me and said, Ben, you don't need to suffer in pain from this surgery. I declared my concern. Dr. Voskoboynikov, I sure as hell don't want to get addicted to anything. He assured me, don't worry, with your attitude that will never happen. Now how is your vision? I answered, well, the right eye is great, but the left eye is still blurry. Dr. Voskoboynikov answered, I will see about getting a vision specialist in here for you. He got up to leave when all hell broke loose. Flashback, Major M, held hostage. I could only hope someone figured out the message. I blinked. I barely had time to finish before they bagged my head again. Yeah, these guys were pros, and it didn't look good for me. When I thought they had gone, I started working on my restraints until someone backhanded me and ordered, sit still and stop trying to escape, or we will cut off your hands. Shit, they left a guard. This wasn't looking good for my escape. Flashback, Jack, looking for Masha. I headed out to look for Masha and the Major and had an idea. She might have gone back to that internet cafe. We headed toward it. We're almost there when all hell broke loose. Flashback, Masha and Tatiana, secret location. We obtained a hotel room with internet. I started the computer, pulled out a USB drive, and scanned the system for any viruses, and was not surprised when it diagnosed the presence of a large quantity of problems. I started the cleaning of the system, and Tatiana remarked, perhaps I really should have shot him. I replied, then we would have had more issues than we are going to have. The building shook and the windows rattled. I looked at Tatiana and stated, that was big and too close to be comfortable. We ran to the window, carefully looked out, and saw a huge plume of smoke. Thank God it was in a different direction than the hospital. The program beeped as it had finished cleaning the computer. I booted up, connected to the internet, and then to my office. I scanned my emails, opened the one about the team, and commented, Tatiana, we have 5 more coming here, but they still don't have any idea where the Major is being held. Then I downloaded the video, and we began to watch it. The background was a plain white sheet, and even with the sound at the highest level we couldn't hear anything unusual. We began to watch it again, then Tatiana commented, Masha, look at the Major's eyes. I started the video over again, watched his eyes and said, that's Morse code. Quick, hand me a piece of paper and a pencil. I was lucky to have brought Tatiana with me because being a nurse, she recognized what no one else did. I only hoped he had time to deliver his whole message. Flashback, Jack, looking for Masha. We were headed to the internet cafe when there was a hell of an explosion that shook the ground and rattled the windows. The Spetsnaz comm devices went crazy and I asked, please tell me that wasn't the hospital. Yuri replied, no, it wasn't the hospital, but one of our checkpoints and almost a whole block were leveled by a car bomb. We have no idea how many are dead yet. We stopped, bowed, and said a little prayer for our fallen comrades. Just started moving again when screw me. Flashback, Colonel Maggie, looking for Major M. I almost caught up to Jack. The old fart can still move pretty good. When there was a big explosion, but it wasn't in the direction of the hospital. We spotted Jack's group, then a shot rang out, and they scrambled for cover. I marked the location, but didn't have a weapon. I yelled at my Spetsnaz bodyguards, pointed, and said, the shot came from that window. They let loose long strings of automatic fire which destroyed the window and shot the hell out of most of the building around it. Jack and his group jumped up, pointed their weapons at us, and I yelled, you'd better not shoot your commanding officer, you old fart. He yelled back, who the hell are you calling old? We caught up to them and I questioned, where are you going? He answered, while Masha and Tatiana gave the Spetsnaz bodyguard the slip. I was headed to an internet cafe. She liked to see if she might be there. I asked, do you know what the hell that explosion was? Jack replied, Yuri said that a car bomb destroyed a checkpoint and most of a city block. I swore, those scumsuckers are serious. What about finding the Major? He got ready to answer when more shots rang out, and we dove for cover. Jack swore, these damn service uniforms are like a sniper's magnet. And I had to agree with him. We stuck out like sore thumbs. Flashback, Ben, at the hospital. The hospital shook, car alarms were set off, and the ever-present barking dogs stopped barking. I looked at Dr. Voskoboynikov and stated, a blast of that magnitude had to be a huge car bomb, of a magnitude which would have destroyed most of a city block. I would estimate it to be 3 kilometers away. He questioned, how do you know these things? I shrugged my shoulders. You have your expertise, and I have mine. We are lucky they didn't get that to the hospital. Now, Dr. Voskoboynikov, you've done enough for me, and you need to get you and your family to safety. He laughed. How well you live makes a difference, not how long. Also, he wanted to trade Russian sayings with me. I replied, look, you need to leave and be with your family. While it is fine weather, mend your sails. Literal translation, prepare the sled in summer and cart in winter. Dr. Voskoboynikov replied, I can see why President Putin liked you. You know the Russian people. However, I am leaving and I will come back if I am needed. You are as garrulous as a magpie. Literal translation, he twirls his tongue as the cow twirls its tail. I taunted, excuse me. According to President Putin, I am Russian. Now get out of here and take care of your family. Dr. Voskoboynikov left, and I came up with a great idea. I was moved to my room, hooked up to the ever-annoying pain pump, when I noticed a box in the corner. My gut clenched. I turned to my security detail and asked, where did that box come from? They exchanged glances, looked at the box, then at me, before promptly wheeling my entire bed out into the hallway without hesitation. Flashback, Mira, Ira, and Safia in Israel. After Irinka swiftly secured a vehicle, I took a seat in the back while Ira drove with her usual confidence. Safia, meanwhile, voiced her less than impressed opinion of Irinka's driving skills, loudly. We hit a dip in the road, the car jolted, and something clicked in my mind. I interrupted their exchange. Have you noticed how low the rear of this vehicle is sitting? Ira smirked. Maybe because you're sitting back there adding weight. I shook my head. Stop the car. I want to check the trunk. Ira pulled over, and we all stepped out. I gestured toward the back of the vehicle. See, even without me in it, the rear suspension is way too low. Irinka narrowed her eyes. Mira, are you thinking what I'm thinking? I grinned. I thought of it first, so you're playing catch-up. Safia crossed her arms. Would you two care to explain what's going on? I replied, something's not right about this car. Ira nodded. The reason we got our hands on it so easily is probably because there's something dangerous inside the trunk. Safia's eyes widened. Wait, are you telling me we just took a car loaded with explosives? I nodded. Exactly. She groaned. Fantastic. And what are we supposed to do with it? I exchanged a look with Ira, and we both grinned. Oh, we've got a few ideas, and this is going to be interesting. Present, Glenn, at the cabin. We no sooner take cover than the scumsuckers start shooting at us. Now that really pisses me off. I've had my damn fill of illegals running around in this country and raising hell. They have the high ground and are shooting the hell out of everything. I stand up and yell, do we have any mortars? The man who offered the CIF's comm center for my FOB says, General, please follow us inside your FOB. It's bulletproof, and we can call in an airstrike. Hell, I knew CIFs had great resources, but an airstrike? Now that was news. Linus yells, cover the general as he heads to the trailer. We're almost there when I can't believe what happens. Present, Yasmin, in the tunnels. I am standing watch like my future husband Ben taught me. I hear an unusual noise at the rear door for the tunnels, and I duck behind the table, just in time, as something destroys the door. I wait and men start into the tunnels until I fire at them. Present, Jens, in the tunnels. We decide when we see Daddy and the Marines getting attacked that we need to head for the workshop door and help Yasmin, just in case. We're running down the hallway, when there's a hell of an explosion and the security system goes crazy. I yell, someone has breached the workshop door. We begin to hear gunfire, both AR and AK, so I know that Yasmin is doing all she can to stop the intruders. Present, Jack, in the tunnels. There's an explosion, the security system goes crazy and Todd signs. Someone has forcibly breached the workshop door. I say, screw this generator shit. We need to join the fight. I kill the generator, we grab our weapons and head toward the workshop door. I turn but Todd is now missing. Now where the hell did he go? Present, Todd, in the tunnels. Since everyone was headed to the workshop door, I figured it might be a good time to cover the door from the cabin. Yeah, the cabin is on fire, but that might not mean anything to these scumsuckers. We have been one or more steps behind the narcotic lord's army the whole time, and it was time that we eliminate any possibilities, no matter how far-fetched they might seem. I approach the door and I hear. Present, Linus, Maria, Matt, and Jim at the cabin. Glenn is headed toward one of the CIF's semis when a rocket screams overhead and blows it to hell. It might be bulletproof, but it sure wasn't rocket-proof. I swear. What the hell was that, and where did it come from? Maria points. Follow the smoke trail. That was some sort of anti-tank round. I order, we've got to do something about these scumsuckers. Then I hear a familiar voice. Looks fancy though, chaps could use some help. I look over, and it's Hammer, so I demand, where the hell did you come from? He answers, I will tell though later, let's gang GIE these scumsuckers. The crazy Scot jumps up, runs toward the narcotic lord's army, and yells, it's Hammer time. It fires everyone up, so we all abandon our cover and head toward the scumsuckers. Present, Glenn, at the cabin. I can't believe it, an anti-tank round takes out one of the CIF semis. Then some crazy Scotsman, who must think he's Rob Roy, charges toward the top of the hill yelling something about it being hammer time and takes over half of my Marines with him. I'm sure it's leading to their deaths, but then I hear something that's music to my ears. Present, Jens, in the tunnels. We reach the corridor headed to the workshop. I peek around the corner and see a crapload of men trying to get in as Yasmin is giving them hell. Yeah, I'm shocked as hell about it too. And has them pinned down. If we live through this, I might even give her a kiss. Chaste, of course. I direct the rest of the team to stay in position as I scoot across the corridor to the other side. Then I signal, and we all begin to open up a can of whoop on them. Jack joins the fray, and now we're really kicking butt and taking names. Then I can't believe what happens. Present, Todd, in the tunnels. I no sooner get set up where I can overlook the front entrance when I start to hear some noises at the door. The only way the scumsuckers could be at the front door was if they had specialized firefighter suits and were flooding them with water. That gives me an idea. Present, Jens, in the tunnels. Yeah, we're kicking butt and taking names when, son of a bitch, something terrible happens. I look at Jack and yell, someone has opened the other tunnel door into the cabin. He yells back, how in the hell can you tell? I respond, the air is being pulled from the workshop into the tunnels, and there's only one way that could happen. That's if the front door was opened during a fire. You, Masha, Yasmin, Liz and Bernie need to hold them off here while I run over to the front door. Zarika offers, Jennifer, I would like to come. Mabel also offers, you can count me in. I yell, Jack, you Liz and Bernie give US covering fire. And we take off toward the cabin door. Present, Glenn, at the cabin. I love the sound of a fully operational minigun in the morning. Yeah, it looks like the call went out, and we have one badass AC-130 gunship spreading its lead curtain of death over the tops of the hills. I'm not sure who it is, but they are damn sure welcome. I owe them someone more than a drink. I owe them a couple cases of bourbon. Hell, a whole damn barrel. Nothing survives the onslaught of an AC-130 gunship, not even the best Marines. The scumsuckers fire a manpad at the AC-130, but it is targeted and destroyed before it gains much altitude. I order, what the hell are the rest of you devil dogs doing hiding in the dirt? It's time to fight or die. The rest of us take off after the crazy Scotsman and the first part of my Marines. Present, Jens, in the tunnels. I run like my butt is on fire toward the cabin entry door. Mabel drops behind, but Zarika almost stays with me. We arrive and find Todd sitting in the corridor watching a pile of burning bodies. The stench of burnt flesh is overwhelming. I demand, what the hell happened? He smiles and signs. I used the terminal to turn off the water pumps that were providing the cooling water to the fire hoses. They were using the water to survive in the house. I ask, how did you know? He smiles and signs, because it's something I would have done. I was thankful that for once one of us was ahead of the damn narcotic lord's army. Present, Jack, in the tunnels. We kicked their butts back out of the tunnel, and I was so proud of my wife and my boy Ivan. I yell, Yasmin, are you okay? But I don't receive a response. I look at Masha and order, cover me. She interrupts, Jack, I have more medical training than you. Liz and Bernie. Cover me and Ivan as we are better suited to the mission. She scoops up our boy. We provide vicious cover fire as she runs and jumps over the table. What a hell of a wife I've married. Then I hear Masha yell. Present, Mira, Ira, and Alexei, at the hospital. We attempt to leave. However, Alexei and I are still handcuffed to the bed. I query, Irinka, when will we be released from our bondage? I illustrate our dilemma with a rattle of the handcuffs. Ira apologizes, I am aggrieved Mira, and Alexei, I forgot you were detained. Please have patience for a moment. She walks into the hallway. We hear a noise. Then she returns and tosses a key to each of us. I giggle and ask, the policeman guarding us? She laughs, they are taking a well-deserved nap. The genetic doctor opens his foul mouth and demands, are you telling me you assaulted a police officer? Ira laughs, no, I assaulted 2 police officers. Unless you are to receive the same treatment, you will convey us to the fertility clinic haste of post and provide us with total access to the entire facility. He argues, but you cannot do that. I smile at him and explain as to a child, Doctor, we all possess diplomatic passports. Therefore, we cannot be pursued for minor crimes in your country. Then I threaten, and even if we were to terminate a person, perhaps someone like you for not assisting us, the worst punishment we would experience is that we might be deported. He immediately adjusts his attitude and promises, in that case you will receive all the cooperation I can provide. Alexei and I liberate ourselves and I state, lead the way, doctor. Present, Ben, Austin, Texas. The janitor wakes me up, I feel a weight on my chest, and look, it's the damn little dog that saved me from the mongrel horde of fat cow women. I look at her and ask, what the hell are you doing here? The little dog yawns and stretches as it awakens. Then the janitor puts his finger over his lips as a sign to shut the hell up and points at the floor. I look and see that Margarita is sleeping on the floor beside the cot. When the hell did they get here, and what the hell does she want? I sit up, which is hard as hell because of the damn little dog. Set her on the cot. Begin to get up when the little dog starts barking like crazy. Margarita wakes up, hugs my leg and declares, "Pavarast. I know we offended you, and I want to apologize to you. I will live with you wherever you live, even if I have to sleep next to your cot on the floor of this boiler room. Hell, I'm a little hungover and feel like shit, but I feel even worse now." The janitor states, "Pavel, there's something else you need to take care of." As he points, I follow his finger and screw. There's dog shit on the floor. I look at the damn little dog and complain, "What the hell? Aren't you housebroken?" The little damn dog gives me a sad look and crawls to the end of the cot. I state, "Well, as a Marine, I don't take any shit, but I sure as hell know what to do when shit happens." I shake my leg loose from Margarita, head over, grab some paper towels, and clean up the dog shit. I look back. Margarita is still on the floor and pleads, "Pavarast." The janitor glares at me, and I make a decision and announce, "I'm going to get my morning cups of coffee. I don't give a flying shit at a rolling donut what you all decide, because after tonight I'm out of here. Yeah, I'm tired of all this bullshit and need to be on my own." Present, Samantha and Stacy, on the road. The SUVs stop and I question, "What's going on?" One of the men says, "Stacy wants to check the horses." I bail out, see Stacy walk up and ask, "Are the horses okay?" She gives me a funny smile and says, "Sam, we really need to talk." We walk over to the side of the road. Stacy looks at me sadly and starts, "Samantha, I don't know how to make this any easier, so I'm just going to tell you." She pauses and I ask, "Stacy, did I do something wrong?" She shakes her head and asks, "How old are you?" I brag, "I just turned 19. Stacy continues to shake her head, hands me a folder of papers, and explains, "Sam, I hate to tell you this, but the most sad bunch you were with is a death squad looking for Ben. They were using you to provide the transportation." I counter, "But Frank and I are married." Stacy looks me in the eyes and states, "Sam, you're his second wife. It's all there in this paperwork." I can't believe it, but I open the documents and it's all right there for me to see. The scumsucker. The love of his life didn't die in a bomb blast in Israel. He married the bitch and they had a hell of a lot nicer life than the scumsucker and I have had. I begin to cry and confess something to Stacy. Present, Tom, Byron, and Inga. It's raining hell on the narcotic lord. How can anyone fire more than a couple of rounds in these son of a bitch shoulder cannons? I'm not close to firing my way through all my ammo. My shoulder is sore as hell, and I've developed a nasty flinch. I'm not even sure where I'm hitting anymore, but I don't care as all I want to do is end this damn torture. Now this has been fun as hell. Old Betsy and I have ripped the damn narcotic lord a new one. Hell, some of his buildings look like they are made out of Swiss cheese. I keep checking on Inga, and she has totally decimated the scumsuckers that assaulted her. I guess it's true. Hell hath no fury like that of a woman. I hear a familiar whistle. I look and Tom is frantically pointing at something. I train my scope in the general direction and make out some trucks headed our way. No big problem. I range them and begin to fire. Byron begins firing at vehicles headed this way, and I realize the narcotic lord has finally figured out where we are. This makes me wonder, so I pick up my rifle, run to the other side of the roof, and sure enough, I resume my position and begin to take out the scumsuckers trying to sneak up on our backside. The report of Inga's rifle sounds different, so I look and see she's firing in the opposite direction. I grab Betsy, run across the roof, and see the scumsuckers are trying to sneak up behind us, so I join in the fun that Inga's having. Shit, Byron and Inga don't realize it, but if we don't get out of here soon, we're not going to be able to leave. I need to get their attention, so I fire above Byron and hit part of the roof he's on. I about laugh my butt off because it scares the shit out of him. He sees me and flips me off. I give him the hand signals for retreat and watch as he reluctantly picks up his rifle and heads toward the stairwell. Now to get Inga's attention. I look, but she's already gone. Shit. Am I the only one left on a roof? I don't like this one bit. I grab the rifle, the rest of the ammo, and head for the stairwell. I'm almost there when the worst thing that could happen happens. Present, Linus, at the cabin. An AC-130 gunship shows up and rains hell down on the top of the ridge. I order, everyone take cover until they are done. Our group drops into a convenient depression and Hammer complains, "That's nae fair. You are having AITA fin." Maria looks at him like he's crazy and replies, "Do you have some sort of death wish?" He laughs, "Kill nae lassie, but they can't kill me." Maria foolishly continues, "Oh really? Why can't they kill you?" Hammer grins, "'Cause I'm a Lucky Charms, they're magically delicious." Maria laughs, "I guess I stepped right into that one." I grin and say, "Yeah you did, but Hammer has seemed impervious to death." Hammer stated, "I was serious. I hate leprechauns protecting me. Then Maria makes a hell of a mistake when she says, yeah, I heard all about kissing the Blarney Stone and how it gives you the gift of gab. Hammer shakes his head and answers, lassie, I'm Scottish and Blarney Stane is Irish. And I don't trust Irish either. They you are have errand scumsuckers. We listen but don't hear anything else. Then Glenn, with the rest of the Marines, runs by and yells, I may be old, but I'm ahead of all of you. That lights a fire under Hammer, so he jumps up and yells, there's nae way on old fart lock he is gonna beat me top I bray. We join Hammer in the chase, and I do have to say, Glenn is in much better shape than the last time I saw him. He's lost a hell of a lot of weight, and damn he can run. Present, Glenn, at the cabin. Hell, it's been a long damn time since I felt this good. I dropped a bunch of weight, and can even fit into my uniforms again. And it's just in time because my Jennifer needs help. The crazy Scot catches up to me. I look over at him and taunt, if you weren't wearing a skirt you could run a hell of a lot faster. He counters, wheel, old farts lock you need to keep your legs covered see they don't jai bra. I smile and explain, I'm Glenn Donaldson, Jennifer's father. He grins and says, Hammer's my name, knockin' hides is my game. I reply, with that clade he more. I'd say it's more like you lop their heads off. Hammer responds, do you speak Gaelic? I reply in my best Scottish accent, why tach, less name I Donaldson, et better ken some Gaelic. Hammer smiles, no I ken why I lock ye in your doctor. Ye'd be perfect if ye wear a kilt. I laugh, sorry, I don't have the legs for it. We reach the top of the ridge, but, well, there's not much of anything left. Present, Maria, at the cabin. It's been interesting hearing the exchange between Hammer and Glenn, but my mouth drops open when we reach the top of the ridge. I look at Linus and say, who the hell is going to clean up this mess? Linus states, I'm sure we have the men to do it, but I sure don't want that detail. Glenn says, Marines don't take shit from anyone, but when shit happens we sure as hell know how to clean it up. He gets ready to say something else, looks past us at the cabin and orders, I want 50 men to stay here, check for survivors and burn the bodies. The rest of us need to haul to the cabin. I turn and see the fire is out, and there are some men moving around in front of the cabin and even by the workshop. A Marine runs up and asks, General, permission to take out the hostiles at the cabin? Glenn bellows, hell yes, take them out with extreme prejudice. Just make sure you don't blue on blue, term for shooting a fellow operative. Us as we head to the cabin. He and 3 other Marines pull sniper rifles from their packs, drop to the ground, and begin calling out target coordinates. As they open fire, the enemy scrambles for cover, some falling in the chaos. Glenn shouts, come on men, this fight isn't over yet. A thunderous aura echoes across the blood-stained hills as we charge toward the cabin. I glance at Linus and ask, I thought Jennifer's father had a reputation for being difficult? Linus smirks. Yeah, he used to be a real hard case, but it looks like time and losing his wife changed him. I frown. Jennifer lost her mother? Unfortunately, he hears me and replies, Princess Boss, is that what you call my Jennifer? I really like that. Do you mind if I start using it? I answer, sorry sir, but you're not what I expected and feel free to use it, but no, she hates anyone calling her a princess. He laughs. Yeah, she is ever since she was a little girl. Oh, about my wife. She's not dead. She's confined to a mental hospital and has little chance of ever recovering. I answer, I'm sorry for your loss. He says, it was for the best for me and my little princess boss. I wonder how Jens will react the first time he calls her that. I hope she doesn't kick my butt again. Present, Jens, in the tunnels. We have our hands more than full. The scumsuckers shut off the propane tank and the fire went out in the cabin. Then they decided to attack in force. I wonder where the hell Daddy and all the Marines are because we could use some help. I look at Mabel and order, head back to the weapons vault and bring all of these magazines that you can find and a couple more rifles like this one. They are all on the wall to the right and left of the door. She says, I'll run as fast as I can. One thing I do have to say is between me, Todd, and Zarika we are kicking butt. Todd signs, I'm out of arrows. I toss him my pistol and all the extra mags, and he continues, but we have a serious as hell situation with ammo. Why the hell didn't I think to stash some mags next to the doorways? Present, Jack, in the tunnels. Masha yells, Jack, Yasmin's been hit in the abdomen and is unconscious. I need a medkit. Some scumsuckers pick that exact time to try to enter the tunnels, so Liz and Bernie shoot their butts, and I reply, Masha, that's not going to happen. It looks like the scumsuckers came back for more. You'll need to figure something out. I flip my M25 to full auto and start firing bursts because the scumsuckers are back in full force. Present, Masha, in the tunnels. I am thankful I at least have Ivan's diaper bag and my purse with me. It is not a medkit, but it will have to do for now. I hear Jack firing short bursts. That signals that there are many more assailants than before because my husband hates wasting ammunition. He still prefers one shot dash one kill. I strip off Yasmin's shirt, withdraw a clean diaper from the diaper bag, and press it against the wound. Yasmin moans, wakes up and laments, "Where's my Ben? If I am going to die, I want it to be in his arms." I fumble in my purse with my one free hand and attempt to comfort her. "Hold on, little one. You are not going to die in anyone's arms just yet." I find what I'm looking for, estimate her weight for the proper dosage. Then I give her an injection which will slow her metabolism and simulate death. I question, "Jack, how are you doing?" He replies, "I couldn't be better." But from the tone of his voice, I know we are in trouble. I look at Ivan and order, "Vanya, be a good boy. Come over here and sit on this diaper." He says, "Girl has bad boo-boo." Then he sits on the diaper compressing Yasmin's wound. I check and verify that she has slipped into a coma-like state. I grasp my rifle and begin to assist my husband. I am shocked when I rise up over the table since I did not know how dire the situation is. Even with the four of us, we might be overrun. Present, Jens, in the tunnels. Mabel arrives with more rifles and magazines than she announces. I heard firing from the hallway toward the back door. I question, was it single shots or short bursts? She replies, it was short bursts. Shit. If Jack and the rest of them are firing bursts, then they're in a hell of a mess. Zarika volunteers, "Jennifer, Yasmin is there, so I would like to go and help." I look at Mabel and declare, "Well, you're going to learn how to use a rifle whether you like it or not." Zarika take off, stop by the vault on the way, and pick up extra magazines and a couple extra rifles for them. Zarika heads out, and I begin to give Mabel on-the-job training for how to use an AR. Present, Mira, Ira, and Alexei, headed to the fertility clinic. We acquire the fertility doctor's very nice vehicle. My sister and I are ensconced in the posterior seats, and Alexei is positioned adjacent to the doctor. He locomotivates out of the garage, accelerates to a high rate of speed, and malevolently cackles. "Okay, you just try to kill me now. If I die, you all die with me." Irinka reaches over the seat, puts him in the hold of sleeper as Alexei takes control of the wheel. The vehicle slows, then stops. Alexei exits the vehicle, forcibly moves the doctor over into the passenger seat, and we locomotivate in a more serene velocity toward the fertility clinic. We arrive at the clinic. Irinka slaps the doctor awake and declares, "That was foolish behavior and will be paid for by your corpus." He whines, "What are you going to do?" Irinka suggests, "I was thinking of starting with the removal of several of your digital extremities." Alexei leans over, whispers something to Ira. Then she smiles and announces, "Yes, my brother. You are correct. It would be much more painful to the good doctor to exact our retribution on his vehicle." He loudly swears, "No? Anything but my car. It's a Bentley." Alexei laughs. "I wonder how a Bentley would perform in my real-life Grand Theft Auto simulation." The doctor becomes weak in the knees at that comment, and we all laugh. Present, Samantha and Stacy, on the road. I begin to cry and confess to Stacy, "Stacy, I'm late, and I'm afraid that damn scumsucker might have got me pregnant." Stacy looks at me and questions, "Are you sure?" I continue to cry, shake my head and say, "I don't really know." I comfort Samantha as she cries, because I know what it feels like if you're preggers due to someone you don't want to be preggers from. I say, "Don't worry. When we hit Austin, we will pick up a pregnancy test for you and find out for sure. Until then, you need to concentrate on something else to take your mind off this." I know. How about if you did a news story exposing the Mossad group for what they really are? Samantha stops crying, looks at me and promises, "Stacy, that would be perfect." I know exactly what to say. I add, "And with the way people in Texas feel right now about illegal immigrants, it might even help you get even with your lying scumsucker pretend husband." She says, "There's only one problem. I don't have any equipment." I laugh. "But what you do have is a friend who has lots of money." Samantha questions, "Do you think I need to clear this with Liz first?" The last thing I want her to do is talk to Liz about us finding Ben, so I suggest, "Sam, you're a hell of a reporter, and my guess is you didn't clear all your stories with Liz. So why would you want to start doing that now?" She smiles and agrees. "Stacy, thanks. You're right." I order, "Let's load up and get to Austin. I can't wait to find Ben again, but this time I know will be very different." Present, Ben, Austin, Texas. I grab a cup of coffee and change my mind. I walk up to the conductor and announce, "Listen, this has been fun, and this has been real, but this hasn't been real fun. I'm getting the hell out of here." He complains, "What? You can't do that. What about the show?" I answer, "I can do anything I want to do. I'm leaving, and there's nothing you can do about it. I would suggest you grovel to the fat shit that I replaced and see if he will come back." I head down to the boiler room to get my gear, open the door, but I can't believe who's waiting for me. Present, Tom, Byron, and Inga. It's raining hell on the narcotic lord. I'm headed to the roof access door when, son of a bitch, some men walk out with rifles. They see me, I drop behind some equipment, and they begin firing at me. I knew we had screwed around here for far too long, and now I'm the one paying the price. I am headed down the stairway when I hear some gunfire coming from somewhere. I stop, listen closely, and decide to head back up to the roof to see what the hell is going on. I get out on the roof and see that some men have Tom pinned down. That's not a problem for me and Betsy, so I lock, load, and fire. The first man literally explodes, which gets the attention of the others. They begin to fire at me. I determined Tom was trapped on his roof, so I terminated the men left standing guard at the first floor of the building and run up the stairway. I reach the roof, slowly open the door, find I'm behind the men trapping Tom, so I begin shooting them with my pistol. Flashback, Masha and Tatiana, secret location. I informed my team of the Major's secret Morse code message hidden in his blanks. We quickly translated it, but then began the hard work of deciphering it. Our immediate concern was because the message did not appear to make sense. Tatiana swore in frustration. What the hell does all this mean? It is always the letter C, followed by a number, then an R or an L. She correctly identified the pattern. It started C60R, C45L, and continued. I speculated, there is always an L or an R. I wonder if those are the turns that were taken, but what are the numbers that follow the C's? Tatiana added, then what is the S40 without an L or an R? And if he was romantically entangled with a young woman, would he accurately keep track of the turns? I answered the question out loud. He might if something was annoying him enough to also keep track of the time. I looked at Tatiana, and we both said, the clicks of the meter in an old taxi. Yes, we had deciphered the code, but there was still one main problem. Flashback, Major M, held hostage. I was still not sure how I did it, but the damn meter in the taxi made this annoying clicking noise that for some reason I counted. Okay, I guess I always had a bit of CCD, constant counting disorder, one of the manifestations of obsessive-compulsive disorder, and I counted everything since I was a kid. I knew the precise number of steps from my house to school, 1037, the steps from my locker to each classroom, and other what seemed useless at the time counts. I only hoped that someone could decipher what I was telling them, but the big problem remained. I didn't give them the initial starting point. Flashback, Masha and Tatiana, secret location. I initiated a conference for my team, announced the information we had discovered, put them on speakerphone, and requested their thoughts. Olga stated, according to the Major's dossier, he has exhibited some indices of OCD. So it is a possibility that your assumptions are correct. Maria added, after looking at the patterns, it is the only thing that makes sense. I reminded all of the most troubling fact. If the assumption is correct, we have an immediate issue because we do not have the starting point. Maria provided some of our solution. If we add up all the clicks, that should give us the maximum numbers of seconds they were in the taxi. This would give us a general idea how far they traveled. Olga questioned, what about the FSB agents? Would not they have been in proximity of the Major when they were killed? I agreed. Yes, they were following us closely every time we went out. But do we know where the FSB agents' bodies were found? My team was silent because that information had not and probably would not be readily released. I paused and then ordered, okay, Maria and Olga, you need work in Moscow to determine where the bodies of the FSB agents were found, while Tatiana and I will proceed to gather information on the starting point. I glanced at Tatiana and confirmed she had already changed clothes and put on a wig. I needed to hurry and switch to a disguise. There was no telling when the hostage takers might act. We had to get down to the street and ask some of the locals if they had seen the bodies of the FSB agents. Flashback, Jack and Colonel Maggie, under fire. Damn, had the entire village fallen under enemy control? Gunfire rained down on us from 3 different directions, coming from multiple buildings. We were fighting back hard, but the problem with these extremists was that they had no fear of dying. And for the first time in my life, I had a damn good reason to stay alive. Colonel Maggie barked an order, give me one of your extra weapons. One of the Spetsnaz tossed her a spare AK, and now she was fighting the scumsuckers too. I finally got a rifle so I could fight back. Hell, you'd think that the Spetsnaz would know all Marines, even female Marines, were riflemen. We were kicking, but then it happened. They started firing the RPGs. I looked at the troops and ordered, let's get the hell out of here. Jack suggested, bounding Overwatch to leave so we can keep each other covered. The Spetsnaz sergeant argued, no, you two are the primary targets. Leave while we keep them occupied. More RPGs were fired and exploded closer to us. Jack yelled, screw this shit, let's move it. We started to leave, and then were surprised as hell. Flashback, Ben, in the hospital. My Spetsnaz guards hauled with my bed out of my room after I called attention to the strange box. When we were what they considered far enough away, we stopped, and they called their bomb unit. A captain came up and apologized. Sergeant Blaine, we are sorry about the unknown package in your room. The 2 Spetsnaz who were ordered to watch your room are now facing serious discipline charges. That was one thing I had discovered. While the Spetsnaz were hellaciously good fighters, they sucked at sentry duty because of their attitude. Most of them felt it was beneath them to pull sentry duty. I thanked him, "Captain, sir. Thank you and your men for getting me out of my room so quickly. However, I was wondering if I could have access to a phone." He moved me closer to the nurse's station. They handed me a phone, and I called the number on the card I was given. When I finished, the captain remarked, "Sergeant Blaine, that was a remarkable gift that you gave your doctor." I smiled. "Well, he deserves it. He risked his life, and his family's, for me." Yeah, I had called President Putin and asked if he could arrange for Dr. Voskoboynikov and his family to have a vacation in America at my expense. It was the least I could do, considering everything he had done. I then asked, "Sir, any updates on how Jack is doing in locating the major?" What he told me next worried the hell out of me. Flashback, Jack and Colonel Maggie, under fire. Damn, was that a sight for sore eyes. A BTR-80, an 8x8 Russian armored personnel carrier, armed with 6 to 81 mm smoke grenade launchers, and one each of a 14.5 mm and 7.62 mm machine gun, rolled down the street toward us, firing its smoke grenades to give us cover, while both the 14.5 mm and the 7.62 mm machine guns were shredding the buildings. There's one thing I had to say. It didn't seem like they were concerned about collateral damage. It stopped, the doors opened, and we hauled inside. We barely got inside the BTR-80 when a lieutenant got in our faces and yelled, "What do you think you are doing? You did not have permission to leave the hospital." I stood up, pointed to my rank, and declared, "Excuse the hell out of me, boy. Just who do you think you are that justifies talking to a colonel like that? Now, we appreciate you showing up when you did, but if there's any but chewing to be done around here, I'm going to do it." I turned, winked at Jack, and yelled, "Sergeant Reynolds, what the hell were you thinking leaving the hospital the way you did in your service uniform? Didn't you realize that you would make a hell of a target?" I could tell Maggie was saving face, so I played along. "Sorry, ma'am. But I thought the risk was worth the reward." She yelled, "Sergeant, since when did we tell you that you could think? If you ever pull a harebrained stunt like that again, I'll bust your butt all the way to PFC. Now tell this lieutenant where we are headed." Yuri gave him directions to the internet cafe, and the lieutenant complained, "But my orders were to bring you back to the hospital." Maggie got in his face and said in Russian. Yuri translated for me, "Lieutenant, what rank was the officer who gave you those orders?" He sheepishly replied, "My captain, ma'am." She continued, "That's what I thought." Since I outrank him, take us to the internet cafe. I decided sometimes officers can do the right thing. Flashback, Ben, in the hospital. When the captain told me Jack and Colonel Maggie were pinned down, it pissed me off, and I demanded, "Help me into a wheelchair. I need to go and help them." He laughed and argued, "Dr. Voskoboynikov has left orders that if you try to leave your bed, we are to put you in restraints." I was pissed and yelled, "Well, someone has to do something for them." He answered, "Do not worry. I have a BTR-80 headed toward them. We will have them back here soon." I swore, "You sure as hell could have told me that in the first place." He glared at me and reminded of our respective ranks. "Sergeant, is this the way you address your American officers?" I apologized. "Sorry, sir. You are right." Another soldier came up and motioned to the captain. They then moved far enough away that I couldn't hear them. The captain came back and asked, "Do you know a nurse named Tatiana?" I replied, "Yes, sir, I do. She is sort of my girlfriend." He explained, the package was addressed to her, and once we determined it was not a bomb, it was opened, and the person who opened it was covered with a large amount of putrid dog feces. I gave him a strange look and questioned, "How did that happen? I thought you checked to make sure it wasn't a bomb. And who sends someone a dog shit bomb? Is this some sort of strange Chechen message I don't know about?" He replied, "The spraying mechanism was balloon-based, so it did not appear on the X-ray equipment. However, it totally coated the bomb technician who opened it. This is the first occurrence we have had of something like this being sent to an individual. We are still investigating how it got into your room and who sent it." I replied, "This sounds like some sort of evil and nasty prank. I am just thankful that he opened the package and not Tatiana." The captain suggested, "It might be nice if you gave the bomb technician several bottles of vodka. Now let's get you to your new room." I questioned, "New room?" He laughed. "Yes, your old room is covered in dog shit, as you like to call it. Plus, we have decided you are to have a new room that only we know about. They will meet to my new room." I made sure to get the bomb technician's name so I could send him the vodka later. I leaned back on my bed and wondered what the hell Jack was doing and if he was okay. And why did Masha and Tatiana run away from the Spetsnaz guard, and what the hell were those two doing? I was bored, turned on the television, and was shocked at what I saw. Flashback, Safia, Mira, and Ira, in Israel. I was shocked after finding out we were driving around in a car bomb and complained, "What are we going to do about my sister?" Mira replied, "Safia, we keep our promises. The explosive device in the boot of the vehicle provides us with a unique opportunity to accomplish multiple goals. Ira added, "We must take a slight detour." Mira finished. "On the way to acquire your sister." I looked at them and questioned, "Mira, do you drive any better than your sister?" Mira shook her head. "I am sorry, Safia, but my operation of four-wheeled motor vehicles is inferior to that of my sister." I further questioned, "Just how safe is the bomb in the trunk?" Ira stated, "It is really quite rudimentary and extremely safe." I shook my head and stated, "Then I had better drive this car if we expect to safely arrive wherever we are going." They smiled. Ira explained to me their plans and I demanded, "Are you two crazy?" Mira replied, "No. However, if you wish to recover your sister, then we must do this first." I reluctantly climbed behind the driver's seat and drove toward what I was sure would be our death. I unfortunately stated, "We should probably kiss our butts goodbye." Ira questioned. Flashback, Masha and Tatiana, secret location. Tatiana had changed into her street disguise. Now it was my turn. I quickly dressed as a old grandmother, because Tatiana was my granddaughter. I was almost done. I looked at my engagement ring and told Tatiana, "I promised Jack I would never take this off, but this ruins my disguise." She smiled, went to her purse, pulled out a roll of adhesive tape and some gauze. She remarked as she completed my disguise, "Masha, you are such a lucky woman, and this is a very large and beautiful ring. Jack must have paid a small fortune for it." I smiled at her and replied, "I would have been happier with one that was smaller, but I think he wanted everyone to see that I was spoken for." Then I grinned and added, "And what about you? Do you see a ring from Ben in your future?" Masha asked me a very hard question. Would I want to marry Ben? Since I did not know the answer, I deflected the question with a giggle. "Well, he has not asked me yet, and we do not have much of a relationship." Masha chided, "Tatiana, I know you, and you do not sleep with a man unless you love them." Yes, it was true. I did love Ben. However, I was also right, because we didn't really have any more of a relationship than nurse and patient. So I slipped past the question, "Masha, I do not even know how long Ben will stay here. He could be transferred back to America at any time." I was complete, and thankfully Masha ordered, "Come, my granddaughter, it is time to see if we can determine the major's location." I was thankful to leave our room with our interrogation yet to be finished. Flashback, Jack and Colonel Maggie at the Internet Cafe. Maggie put the fear of God, or female Marine officers, in the lieutenant. He even tossed us some Russian infantry. It's common for the Spetsnaz to dress as and infiltrate other Russian military units for fact-finding missions, uniforms, and said, "It will be safer if you change out of your Marine costumes." I couldn't let that nasty comment about the service uniform slide, so I said, "At least we have a dress uniform." Most of the time the Spetsnaz have to steal dress uniforms from the road police, probably the most corrupt government agency in Russia. They constantly stop drivers and expect bribes for you to be released. It aggravates the hell out of them if you have all your paperwork in order. Is Jack crazy? Does he know what a hell of an insult he just delivered to the lieutenant? I get ready to let Jack have it, then the lieutenant laughed. "Sergeant Reynolds, lucky for you. Tales of your sense of humor have preceded you, otherwise I would have been insulted." He looked at me and continued, "Colonel, should I turn away while you change?" I laughed and answered in Russian, "Hell, Lieutenant, if you haven't seen a woman in her underwear by now, then you must be a..." What the hell? I do know that Russian word. Maggie just called the lieutenant gay? We're going to be lucky that he doesn't throw our butts are on the street. I'm shocked when the lieutenant laughed, watched Maggie change and commented, "I see that many Americans share Sergeant Reynolds' humor." Then he zinged her, "But for an old woman, I do admire your condition." I watched Maggie get angry. Then she looked and saw he was smiling, and she said, "That was a good one, Lieutenant. I may be old, but I've worn out younger men than you in less than a night." The crew of the BTR 80 laugh their butts off. Then the driver announces, "We are here." The doors open. We bail out, and what the hell? Flashback, Ben, in the hospital. I was damn pissed as my Spetsnaz entourage hauled me to my new room. Someone had tried to prank my Tatiana. I couldn't imagine her covered in dog shit. If that had happened, I would have tracked the scumsucker that did it down and killed there, but twice. I asked the captain, "Is my wallet here?" He answered, "Of course, all your personal belongings are here." I pleaded, "Please bring me my wallet." He bought me my wallet. I opened it, pulled out 2 $100 bills, handed them to him, and requested, "Please use one of these to buy the bomb technician some vodka." He questioned, "And the second one?" I smiled and explained, "Let's call it a carrying charge." He questioned, "Perhaps you would like a bottle too?" I think for a moment, know how pissed off it will make Tatiana, and reply, "Sure, that would be great." He left with a smile on his face, and I got back to watching the news. Damn, Russia is being screwed over by these Chechen scumsuckers. I needed to do something, anything, but in the back of my mind, I kept wondering who the hell kept screwing with Tatiana. My thoughts were disrupted when one of the Spetsnaz guards asked, "Sergeant Blaine, would you like me to get a bottle of vodka for you immediately?" I looked at the damn PCA pump in my arm, knew that it was probably giving some shit like morphine, and said, hell yes I would. In fact, I would like a couple bottles. I gave him another 100 and he rushed out to buy the vodka. Flashback, Safia, Mira, and Ira, in Israel. I unfortunately muttered, we should probably kiss our butts goodbye. Then I proceeded to drive the vehicle to our destination. Ira questioned, Safia, we are very flexible. However, that would be impossible, even for us. Mira introduced her input to the conversation. Irinka, I believe this is one of those sayings like, you bet your butt. Ira questioned, so then it is yet another metaphor? I yelled, hell yes it's damn metaphor. Now please shut your damn pie holes, so I can drive. I realized my mistake when Mira asked, Safia, what is a pie hole? Then Ira speculated, Marinka, I think it is a hole where you put the pie. Mira continued, no Irinka, I think is an adjective or is it an adverb? I do believe you put pie in the pie hole and is an expression of anger. I stopped the car, turned, glared at them and threatened, if you say one more word I will leave this car. Mira looked at Ira. Ira looked at Mira, and I saw a quick exchange of hand signals. At least they were quiet for once. I signaled Mira, I do believe Safia is extremely upset. Mira replied, yes, she seems to be slightly unbalanced. At first she wanted to discuss but euphemisms, but now she hates them. Ira added, not just but euphemisms, but now pie-hole euphemisms. I questioned. Ira being with Safia has been somewhat beneficial as she has given us many new uses of typical words. Ira verbally answered, yes, but her female traits almost make her behavior unbearable. I giggled and replied, but you are a female. Ira grimaced in retort, don't remind me. I giggled and Safia glared at both of us. Dear listeners, next part of the story will be released soon. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.